So in high school, I was not the homecoming queen. I was the girl who organized the homecoming parade and the homecoming events. And the same thing was true for the prom. I was the organizer of the prom, the chairperson of the prom. And I remember thinking, this is going to be a great prom, great DJ, great band, great venue. And one night I was working on some prom-related project, and I thought to myself, oh shit, this is a prom. This is going to be a great prom. I really want to go. I don't have anybody to go with. So I was planning this great event, and it just dawned on me that, you know, I needed to go with somebody if I wanted to attend this party I was planning. So everybody has their fallback friend, right? Okay, maybe you don't. Your friend who, you know, if you're both unmarried at a certain age, you'll get married, or, okay, maybe never mind on that. But I had a friend who was another person who organized stuff. And so he and I agreed begrudgingly that if we couldn't find anybody else to go with, we would go with each other so we could go to the prom. But he told me there was a senior he wanted to ask. And he was a junior. We were both juniors. This was the junior prom. And the probability that she would say yes was pretty high, because if you ask somebody out of your class, you know, they get to go to the junior prom, whereas opposed to if you just ask another junior, it's their prom, and it's more important who they go with. So a few days later, we were at some cabaret performance at my high school where they had, not cabaret, but dinner theater, where you sat at a table and watched a show. And I was at a table, my friend Nikos was, and then there's this other guy who I recognized because we had ridden the bus together in middle school. And we had also won an award, so our names were on a plaque in the library. One was his and one was mine. And it was a geeky award, and I just remember feeling kind of like, yeah, we're geeks. So that night, actually, the reason Nikos, who was the friend I was going to, my default friend, I guess, or my default date, the reason he wanted to go to that was because Beth, this senior he was going to ask, was in this play, and he thought afterwards he'd ask her. And he did, which left me back where I started, you know, organizing this great prom with no buddy to go with. So I was driving Nikos home, and he was mentioning Steve Hill, the guy who was at my table, who I'd ridden the bus with. And he said, Jamie, and I was very upset that he had gone with Beth. Even though we'd agreed other people were okay, I was still sort of not expecting that to actually happen. And so he said to me, you know, what about Steve Hill? Like, you know, you guys kind of got along, and you rode the bus together, and, you know, you both got that geeky award. And part of me was kind of like, you know what? Like, not a bad idea, but I never see him anymore. I don't ride the bus anymore. I drive now, and he's a senior, and, you know, I just, when is this going to happen? So we're driving, I'm driving, and then I look in the rearview mirror, and I see that Steve Hill is right behind me in his car, because, again, we're on the same bus route, so he was headed back towards where we all lived, and he was right behind us. So my friend Nico said, all right, you got to ask him now. And this was before there were cell phones or anything like that, so I couldn't just, you know, call him up. But he was still behind me. I was like, no, I can't do that. I can't, you know, how am I going to do it? And then I was also there was the whole dignity issue too, where I was like, you know, so here, the way I got around the dignity issue was I said, will you give me $50 to do it? Just because that way I could justify, well, this was a dare, or he said he would pay me, so I just did it, you know, to prove something. And so there's a little bit of negotiation with my friend. I don't remember exactly at what number we netted out, but as soon as we did, I hit the emergency flashers. Because again, no cell phones. I needed to get Steve behind me to stop. I pulled over. Of course he pulled over behind me because I had my emergency flashers on, and what person wouldn't do that? And so he pulled over behind me, and I actually got out of the car and went over to the window. I was all nervous and everything, and he rolled the window, and then he got out too. And he said, he was like, are you okay? Is everything okay with your car? Because emergency flashers generally indicate that you have a problem with your car, not your life. And I said, oh, no, my car is fine. I just need a date to the junior prom. Would you like to go with me? And he said, yes, I'd love to, and I'll drive.